Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third in the new series of Q&As happening at the Blackpool Film Collectors Convention. Delighted that Mark Williams, author of the recently published Bootlace Cinema, collecting horror, science fiction and exploitation movies on Super 8, is with us today. I know it's far from his first visit to Blackpool, so I'm sure he feels very much at home here.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming.
And just to make sure there's absolutely no danger of my forgetting, I think you all got a raffle ticket when you arrived, and at the end of the Q&A, Mark will draw a ticket out of the tombola just over there, and the winner will receive a hardback copy of this new book, which I'm sure Mark will be happy to sign for you if you would like it to be signed. Yeah. Funnily enough, this is actually the fifth time I've chaired a Q&A with Mark, but all the others have been under his other hat of documentary filmmaker, and we've been talking about a documentary on punk bands in Croydon. So if we start straying onto the subject of Johnny Moped or some such band of Croydon musicians, then please remind us that this is a very different occasion today.
Excuse me, you're talking about punk bands, Adrian?
I did briefly, yeah.
I can't believe that you're talking about punk bands.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this has been about the
Well, there is a soundtrack album involved, and so if you want to hear more, speak to us afterwards and we'll point you to how it can be acquired. But to focus on today's matter in hand, we will talk about Mark's recently published book, but I think it's fitting to go a little bit into Mark's association with 8mm, because when you were growing up in Croydon, which is also my hometown, I believe it would be true to say that in your family watching 8mm was quite a normal thing to do.
Oh yeah, it was. You know, as I say in the book, it was like a way of life, really. Certainly in the boom time, I think sort of 78, 79, maybe 80. You know, we'd all get together on for a Christmas show. It was funny enough. It was Futtock's End was my father's favourite, my late father's, which they showed a clip the other night, and we had the full length, the 2x400 foot version, which got worn out. I mean, the stripe. I've never known a copy like it, but it actually got worn out, and the stripe started to come off. So I think that got traded in very rapidly. I think you know, for a bargain price or something. But yeah, we, you know, and I had a cinema. I was very lucky. You know, my dad was quite well off, and he built me a custom-made cinema up in one of the big bedrooms, and I had a projection box. Really lucky. And and a cinema scope screen, and we also went downstairs in the big front room. We could open up the doors and do you know, a bigger screen. You know, 4x3 format or something, you know, but yeah, it was certainly, Super 8 crazy back in the day.
Was there a history of making home movies in your family?
There was, yeah. I mean, you know, being an Addiscombe man, you know, obviously, yeah, we used to make home movies down the local park. I can't remember the name, Bingham Road Rec. That was where it was, when the old train station was there, so I've done a few. You know, when I was at school, I made a couple of things, terrible films like Return of the Incredible Melting Man and things like that. You know, we couldn't afford latex, so we used dough. So my friend of mine, you know, put all this stuff on him, and he wandered around the park attacking, trees and things, you know. And one of the things we did, we used food colouring icing on there. So of course, when it came off, it'd all gone through, and it'd gone totally red-faced. That's Kevin, who came a couple of years ago. And his mum never forgave me, you know, on that one. It's always nice to be on the other side of the camera, really.
So I take it the 400 foot of Incredible Melting Man was being shown in your home cinema then?
That was, yeah. It was in it. Well, I think we've gone to cinema. We've gone to the Odeon Croydon to see a double bill with the Savage Bees or something. It was a great double bill. And totally inspired us, you know. And then, I was very lucky. Ken Films announced the 400 foot version, which is featured in the book, funny enough. And yeah, which is 20 minutes of wandering around, you know, a melted man wandering around with no plot is long enough, I think, isn't it, as opposed to 90 minutes.
So this was around late 70s then?
Yeah,
would
yeah,
you say?
yeah. So that must have come out, was it 77? Was it 77, 78? It probably came out at the cinemas. And I was surprised it got a cinema release because it's quite sort of amateur, really, isn't it? But yeah, it inspired us, really, you know.
Now, one thing that you did around that time, which very few of us will have had a comparable opportunity, you had a short distance from your home what must have been Croydon's premier shop in terms of films and projectors. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I was really lucky because my dad was, he was a shop owner. He had a wallpaper shop and he also had a furniture shop. So he knew all the owners in the vicinity. And just across the road from me, there was a guy, he said, a guy called Tom Hood. He said, I'm going to open up a film shop. Do you want to come and work on a Saturday? And I was at school, which was great, you know. And he said, I can't pay you, but you can rent films. So that's great because they're about, I suppose to get a feature for a week would be £8, something like that, wouldn't it? Quite expensive. So whatever was left on Saturday night, I could take home but I think I had to drop them back. I had to drop them back on the Monday or something, you know, because so he didn't miss a rental. But I remember getting stuff like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it was only about 14 or something, you know. So it was like the forbidden fruit, really, you know. But yeah, it was called Movie Den, and we've actually got an ad again. The book. It's a little bit about it, and we've got an advert there. You know, it didn't last long, unfortunately. And Adrian never went, did you? You know, it was literally down the road from you.
Sadly, I wasn't collecting at the time, but I think I bought the final film the shop sold before it went over to hiring out videos, and so I did engage with it once, but if only I'd been collecting about 2 or 3 years earlier, I'm sure I'd have been a regular, because I was going to Perry's Movies in the Wimbledon area, and it would have been great to have an even closer shop. And what's striking is this wasn't the Croydon town centre, was it? It was a bit peripheral.
No, you know, now it's quite a busy part. I think it's like a through road, isn't it, or red route there, isn't it, for Croydon? But before, you know, I don't know, it was just like a little small sort of suburb, really, wasn't it? I suppose wasn't far from Croydon, about 10 minutes.
But it wasn't just the library. Quite a few films and projectors were being sold, weren't they?
Yeah,
well?
And he did probably like Duran did. He used to do kids' parties, and you know, there was all screenings, or people could, you know, you could hire him to do a 16mm show. Probably like the Unit does at the moment, doesn't he? He does that type of thing for 250 quid or something, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, in Hackney.
Yeah, in Hackney. But yeah, you know, so it was quite a busy shop, or people could hire the projector for the night. Yeah.
Can you remember any film or projector being particularly popular in terms of what people were coming in to buy?
Yes, well, he had a deal with Fuji, so a lot of the stock didn't have any. I don't think he had any Elmo there, but he had a lot of Fuji stock. So yeah, all these brand new, lovely, you know, S830 he had there, and you know, Mag Optical. I don't know what it was, you know. I think my first sound projector was a Fuji. Little plasticky thing, you know, but yeah, so all these cameras and things, but it was a disaster because about a week after the shop opened, he got a burglary one Saturday night, so all the stock disappeared. So he had to sort of get, after that, he had to get, you know, I think it was an insurance claim in there, and then he had to get all the shutters put up in there and everything, you know, but where he started was a brilliant time for him to start because Star Wars was coming out.
Yeah.
And what he actually did, he had a window in the shop, and he got the first release Star Wars, like 200 foot, like an 8-minute colour sound, and he got one of these audio visual things where he could put it on a loop basically on there. What are they called, those? Gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of them now, you know, but you could put stuff on a loop anyway, but he put it in the window, so of course we had a public, oh God, Star Wars, everybody was talking about Star Wars. Because it'd been a massive hit in the States in the summer that year.
So you could actually walk past the shop and see a bit of Star Wars even before it was in cinemas.
Yeah. So of course this copy, after a week, it was scratch the ribbons. You know, I think that went into the library. You know, which was great. And then the 400 foot came out, and yeah, so the rest is history really on there. But it got a lot of people, especially Elvis films as well. If Vince is here, they, you know. People used to come in, oh yeah, you know. They probably couldn't believe the price, you know, they're only getting 20 minutes of Elvis. But back then there was no videos, cassettes, and 20 minutes was better than nothing, wasn't it?
Well, we better jump forward to talk about the book, but I suppose it would be true to say then that the experiences you were having watching film and collecting film would have been really the basis of what caused you later to want to put together a book along the lines that you have.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. You know, that certainly planted the seeds, and it's taken, you know, one of these things, it's taken 10 years to get this book out, and we decided to self-publish in the end. We got caught in a publishing deal in the States. They didn't like the book, so and I think they thought it was too niche. But we've sold over 300 now, which is good. Some people have, you know, it's always been very positive. So it's really good.
I know it went through various stages in terms of trying to come up with a format that would maximise the chances of it being published, but what you have now, is that fairly close to the original idea you had for it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, all the, you know, because what I wanted to do, and it was too expensive, I wanted to do a book just with lovely glossy covers, you know, like 400 foot size, so I could just showcase each one. But it, you know, in publishing terms, it would cost a fortune to do. And then I thought, hold on a second, I do, you know, just give people a taste or an illustration, and do a little bit of. Just done a little, you know, a few comments on there, a little bit about the films and things, and that's what we ended up with, really. So it didn't really change, but I put a lot of personal stuff in about, you know, Super 8 mania, a bit of my collecting, you know, back in the day. And Lee contributed a part as well, you know, he talks about his, was it Cinema of Our Time as well, wasn't he, on there? So,
yeah.
Lee Mannering, so, yeah, it was good, yeah. I was really pleased how it turned out.
And you have a certain amount about distributors in there, as well as releases.
Not everybody, but I thought it was good, and I think some of the German collectors, they didn't really know a lot about, you know, companies like PAL Films or PM Films, some of the smaller, you know, there were so many, wasn't there, really, you know, everybody was releasing films, and that 78 and 79, the boom. You know, PAL Films, and you know, there's little bits and pieces about that in there, so I think they were quite pleased, and obviously in book 2, when I come to that, I'll focus more on the German distributors, so now I can translate it and use it, you know, tell you what they were up to, because really interesting stuff there, you know.
Now, of course, the type of films that are covered in terms of horror, fantasy, exploitation, I guess it would be true to say that's broadly in line with your personal taste. And
definitely, yeah. You know, I wanted to showcase those type of films, you know, and I think it made it more commercial as well, because one of the things we thought, actually probably started off more as a general book, so there's a lot more stuff that would probably end up in another edition if we do one, and you know, like Where Eagles Dare, but I think we took that out unfortunately, and things like that. But yeah, we've sort of focused on the horror, sci-fi, and exploitation for this one.
I suppose what would be surprising for many of us is that you do have quite a lot of artwork from European releases.
Yeah, well, that's thanks to Andreas, you know, because he's just done it for years. He just catalogued all. And I said to him, on planning the book, would you mind if I could use? And he said, well, help yourself, and I'll even scan, you know. So it was really helpful, and he got the first thank you credit on there, you know. But I think it was important that we appealed to, you know, the European collectors as well. Because there's obviously a lot out there, you know, on there, as well as, you know, sort of British and USA market.
And you have personally owned quite a few of these European releases?
I have, yeah, and mainly from Perry's. I think when, probably like Adrian, I started, I saw an ad in Movie Maker, we started going, after I worked in the shop, we started going over to Wimbledon, you know, getting the train line over to Merton Park. Sadly gone, isn't it now, you know, because it's on the tram route now, and yeah, just from there. And you were lucky, you know, you could, like we was talking about last night, you could get a copy of the Paul Naschke film, The Devil's Possessed. It's not a great film, but it's like quite a rarity, isn't it, on a Dutch release with burnt-in Dutch subtitles and things. And the odd German release as well turned up, didn't they, you know?
Well, certainly with the Dutch releases, there are quite a lot of them with English subtitles, but that wouldn't apply to most of the others from Germany, for example. So
no.
Were you were you actually getting your prints re-recorded or re-recording them yourself, or were you just settling for German dialogue in some cases?
I was quite happy. I mean, if I could get a copy of, something like Prisoner of the Cannibal God, which is a really, sort of crude, Italian type movie, I'll watch it in German. I'm quite happy to watch.
Yeah.
And it would be, the bonus would be it would be uncensored, because over here they probably take about 5 minutes out, and back in the time they're very censorious. So to get an uncut copy, I'd be quite happy. I wouldn't bother to dub it. I would, it's before videotape and things, but.
Well, in a minute I'll see if anyone would like to ask a question, but finally, is there any European release, if you'd particularly like to recommend one that you would say is good entertainment for someone who collects Super 8 horror, exploitation or whatever?
There's so many, isn't there? I mean, I like one of my favourite releases, Flesh Gordon, which really interesting, because it was like I suppose like a sort of soft porn sort of movie, a lot of nudity in it. But the German heads have sort of concentrated on the stop motion, so he's taken all that part out, and it's really good. You've got all that lovely, was it Jim Danforth, wasn't it, a guy worked with Ray Harryhausen, and you've got all that lovely, and he concentrates on the side. So I think there's a copy out there, funny enough, 2 by 400 foot. But that's very, very entertaining, but very silly, But,
Would anyone like to ask Mark a question? Oh.
You often used to mention that you saw Derek and I when we used to go down to London. Therefore, I knew that you said you'd worked for CIC and you used to be carrying films from A to B.
Yeah.
What exactly was your job with CIC?
Well, it was funny. I was really lucky. Again, I was just about. I didn't get many qualifications, unfortunately, and I was just about to go to find out what's going on. I was looking at the Evening Standard, and they wanted a film messenger boy for CIC. So I got my careers master to call up, got me an interview. My dad took me up there. And he took me to the Hilton as well for a cup of tea before, so I was really lucky. He wouldn't just go to a cafe, he'd have to go to the Hilton, but which is nearby. And I got the job. So I worked for them for, so that's probably when I saw, Jed and Derek. You had the polyester suits on, the blue ones there.
How long did you work for them?
I went on to work for them for probably about a year, and then I got then Paramount UK in Wardour Street, because I'm there every day. They said, "Oh, do you want to come and work as a trainee projectionist?" So yeah, I'll pay you. I was I'd have paid them, So
where did you go to use that?
So I worked at Paramount House, was a 162 Wardour Street, which is where Rank was. Remember Rank over the left, and they're sort of towards the Oxford Street end, really, But it was lovely. I would have paid them. Sadly in 1983 I got made redundant, so I was probably only there 2 or 3 years, because the movie game was just, not doing well at all, really, But it was a dream job for me, I really enjoyed. I loved doing the projection and it was all changeovers. It wasn't just, everything. Everybody put the prints down, and I worked on a couple of films doing the rushes, like The Keep with Michael Mann and people like that. You never knew who was going to come in. Sir John Mills came in one day and shook my hand. I showed him a 16mm print one day. So, yeah, that was a great job. Yeah, I'd have paid them.
Do we have another question?
What would be the first 8mm package movie you actually bought with your pocket money?
It would probably be, I don't know, I think it will probably be Star Wars or something, the 200 foot or the 400 foot. I think, because I had a lot of money then, because I was only at school, so I think my parents bought projector. Pardon? Yeah, no, colour. I had a colour, yeah, so I was lucky. They're about 30 quid, and a lot of money back then, wasn't it?
So with sound?
Yeah. So I had a projector one year, I got a projector, and I think I got a Mighty Mouse cartoon, I don't know what it's called, but that sort of started me off on the...
Happy days.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, great start.
Any other questions?
And are you considering a second volume?
Are you considering a second volume?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I've started writing it as well. I preempted it, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to, And we're going to focus more on, you know, probably about some of the disaster movies from the 70s, Airplane, you know, not Airport, Airplane, you know, that was the spoof. Things like that, you know, Meteor. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there. So we're broadening the horizons, I think, you know.
John, do you fancy I could put in our bid for proofreading?
Yeah, yes, I will.
You're not saying there's any errors in it, are you?
Italics going off in the wrong place and things like that.
We had the gremlins in, but don't let it put anybody off there, you know.
I think we've got time for one more, if someone would like to ask a final question. Well, if there isn't another one, I'll just say, is there any release you've come across, perhaps a more obscure one, that's just so dreadful you'd recommend everyone avoids it?
I think the worst film I ever got was a Universal 8 release, and it was called Disco Beaver from Outer Space. And not only it was an abysmal film, it was very sort of American, I think it was made for cable TV or something, but the quality was abysmal because they basically taken it from a VHS or, no, a broadcast quality tape, you know, and then put it on the film, and it's got to be the worst film. It wasn't funny, was it? It wasn't funny, was it? You know, but and that went straight back to Perry's. That one, I think.
I think I turned up at Bin and Bar.
Yeah. If anybody sees a copy for even just 50p or something, don't buy it. You know. Well, 50p, I suppose. You know, but it was terrible. And I think it was like made for cable TV or something. But the National Lampoon, because I like National Lampoon's Animal House. I thought all that. More than on the same lines. It hadn't been released in the UK, but it was a disaster. So please avoid that one if you see a copy.
Unless it turns up in the auction today, of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
It would be a must.
Yeah.